There's still a massive gender pay gap. There's an investing pay gap. There's a pension. There's all these gaps if you're a woman, but it's easier than ever to start investing.
Sophie Foote, once a scuba diving business owner in Indonesia,
now coaches her clients one-to-one to learn to invest.
You are passionate about helping women get more confident in investing.
Yeah, women outperform men as investors. We put money back into our communities. We put money into charities. The index funds like the FTSE 100 in London or the S&P 500 in America would usually average 8 to 10% a year. Women are a few percent higher than the average. This is what 90% of investors do. They stick their money in index funds and then you check it every 6 months.
Done.
That's it.
Talk to us about compound interest.
So if you've got 100 quid in your bank account, you might make a couple of percent a year, which is rubbish. If you invest it, then you might make 10% per year, which is better. You're not just going to make interest on that £100, you're going to make interest on your interest. And then the next year, you'll make interest on the interest's interest. I've had my property business for 4 years now. So I basically leverage other people's properties.
And 4 years, you could be selling it for around £500,000.
Yes.
Would you say this is literally available to anybody that can just start with, as you did, maybe 4 or 5 grand?
Yeah, just hustle into it.
Talk about the wildfire.
Yeah. October 2015, the fire's really close by. And we were on like a beach with a big hill behind it and we had cottages there crackling towards us and it was like 200 metres long, this line of fire. This is going to burn down my resort because it's all made of wood. That was the worst day of my life, honestly.
Sophie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you are passionate about helping women get more confident in investing.
Yeah.
Talk to us. Why is that your passion?
Well, I mean, we can start talking about gender inequality. I mean, it's really shocking that, 50 years ago, a woman wouldn't have been able to get a mortgage on their own without their husband's permission or their father's permission.
And for like younger people, that's like recognizing how recent that is. That's not like some history thing about King Henry VIII, right?
No, it's insane. It's like our mum or our grandma. They couldn't do these things. And it's just so accessible now. There's still a massive gender pay gap. There's an investing pay gap. There's a pension. There's all these gaps if you're a woman. But it's easier than ever to start investing. Like you can start investing with £1 on an app tomorrow. I was doing a masterclass in Blackpool recently and I was saying that, if you were of our parents' generation and you wanted to invest, you'd have to call your stockbroker or go to their office or make a call to the trading floor, which is all really unimaginable. But now we can get an app, put £1 in, stick it in an index fund, and you can be an investor in minutes. And I think because our parents and grandparents didn't have these opportunities, we should grab them, we should take them, we should do it. And we can put more money in the hands of women, anyone. Women outperform men as investors. We put money back into our communities. We put money into charities. We put money into female-owned businesses. It's just a great thing.
What's the stats about that where you say the outperforms? What does that data look like?
So the index funds like the FTSE 100 in London or the S&P 500 in America would usually average 8 to 10% a year. Historically, over the last 90 years, yes, we've had dips, but they're the averages. Women are a few percent higher than the average, which is great, isn't it?
So let's go into more. Why do you think women are not investing? And when you work with people, what are some of the common objections, fears, confusions around investing?
I think it's seen as techie, it's seen as complicated, it's seen as a bit confusing. We haven't had access to money and financial things like mortgages for such a long time. It's just not offered to us. We're not in those worlds. We're not even taught financial literacy at school. None of us are.
Which is just mad, isn't it? That's shocking. I mean that, and that's obviously across the board, whatever gender. And that's, I guess, initially was one of the core reasons for starting this show, is to bring people like you here that are experts in these fields to teach us the stuff we should just be taught as basics, right?
Yes.
That should just be standard stuff.
Yes, 100%. And I think women like to research decisions before they do them. They like to know, they like to analyse, but then you get a bit of analysis paralysis and you go, oh, I'm not sure. And investing can be risky. You could lose all your money if you do it wrong. But if you do a little bit of research, there's books, there's podcasts, there's so much stuff out there now where you can learn the basics, you can really lower your risk and you can create real long-term wealth, which is amazing.
I also think, like, just let's call it what it is. I think, as you're referring to there with like the generations, there's so many women where it's almost just not in their DNA. It's just, that's not my role. You know, traditionally, there's that whole thing of the man is the provider. They look after the finances. Have you had clients that they've had that ingrained in them where they've really struggled with taking that role, I guess, of responsibility over their finances and things like that?
I think those women are scared to start. I don't have many clients like that because if they're in a traditional relationship like that, then the man just does everything, which, you know, can be a very comforting thing. But if your relationship breaks down, or if your car breaks down, or if you lose your job, just having this cash, just having your own bank account and having that independence and financial autonomy is just so important. So that's what I want to get women doing. Most people that work with me are business owners or property people, because when you get into property, there's so many different ways to invest. Maybe I could do commercial property, maybe I could do land, maybe I could look at the stock market, that they're more open to it, and so they then come to me.
Talk to us about compound interest then as a concept. What does that mean and how does that work with investing?
Yes, compound interest is one of my favourite things, and someone said it was like the eighth wonder of the world. It's basically...
Was it Warren Buffett initially?
Could be, yeah. Good old Warren, yeah. He knows everything. So compound interest is, if you've got 100 quid in your bank account and you leave it there, you might make a couple of % a year, which is rubbish. If you invest it, then you might make 10% per year, which is better. Compound interest means now you've got 110 quid, we're going to compound all of that. You're not just going to make interest on that £100, you're going to make interest on your interest. And then the next year, you'll make interest on the interest. So it's like a snowball. So to invest your money and to get it compounding is huge. And anyone can go online right now and go on a compound interest calculator, and you can put in your starting funds, whether it's £1, £1,000 or £100,000. You can put in your rate of interest. So say 10%, that's kind of a normal yearly interest rate for the stock market. And then maybe you can top it up every month. You know, when I pay myself, I immediately put some money into investments. So you're putting all these things into the calculator and it will show you how much you're going to have in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. And compared to if you just left that in a bank account, it's incredible. So everyone says, I should have started this sooner. Everyone.
Yeah, so if you're listening now, like, know that the best time to start is now, I imagine, right? It's like, don't leave it. And I think what's really interesting about this is coming back to what we were saying there about traditional education and what we're taught about money. We're told, save your money like for a rainy day. We're told like about saving. We're told about having a bank account and things like that. We're also told about making money. We're taught about working really hard. But isn't it true, like, the way to build wealth is not hard work and saving, it's investing?
Yeah, 100%. And the reason we're told to put our money in the bank account, do you know what the banks are doing with our money? They're investing it. Yeah. They're making money on our money.
And people don't know that, do they?
No.
Like, actually, they think that's their money just sat there. It's not. It's digits on a screen.
Yeah.
The money's gone, pal.
Yeah. The money's
been invested.
Gone. They're investing. They're making their compound interest. And we're sat here. But I do think money management is an important thing. So everyone should invest. But number one, you should sort out your debt. So if anyone's got like credit card debts or the buy now, pay later type things, really high interest loans, you need to get rid of that first. Then you need to stabilize your income, so have more coming in than you have going out. And then we can put a little rainy day savings fund aside for quick cash when we need it. So people normally advise maybe 3 months salary, which seems a lot, but you can get there. Maybe 6 months salary. So if your car does break down or if you need a root canal or something, you can access that really quickly. And then we go to investing. So then any spare cash, let's build it.
That's really important. And probably some people might need to rewind that and just listen to that again, because you've literally just there in a matter of seconds given them the steps. Because that was one of the things I was going to ask if people are listening and they're like, when is the right time to invest? I think what you've given them there is a really good framework. What about how much do they need to invest? What would you say to that?
So I normally, when you get paid, so on payday, pay yourself first. So take some money for you, and you can have your fun money. It's always good to have a bit of a plan, a bit of a spreadsheet at the start of the week or the month. So have the money that you need for your bills, your food, your rent, whatever. Have a bit of fun money, and then whatever you've got left, that should be your debt, your savings, and your investments.
So it doesn't need to be like we need loads of money to start investing.
No, you can start with £1.
Literally.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a friend visit me the other day, and he was like, you keep banging on about this starting with £1 thing, show me. So I got the app out that I use. So I used Trading 212.
Okay.
And I was like, start an account, and you have to get your ID out and prove who you are, fine. And then you put your money in, and then you don't just put your money in it, you have to then choose what to invest it in. So an index fund is like what I was talking about earlier. So do you know, like the FTSE 100? It's the 100 biggest companies in London. The S&P 500 is the 500 biggest companies in the US. You can get global index funds as well. But these companies, if they underperform, they get replaced. So you don't get bad performing companies in these indexes. And they have gone up by 8 to 10% historically for the last 90 years.
So it's a relatively safe bet.
They do seem to be a good long-term investment. So you just put your money in, you look for the index fund you want, and you invest. And my friend started doing it, and he was like, oh, that was really simple.
So that sounds nice and simple, straightforward as a beginning. But I think quite often when people have not been investing before and they are almost introduced to the world through social media or whatever it may be, different people that they're following, it can feel like everybody's saying this is the thing to invest in. You've got some people saying, do not invest in this, these are terrible investments. Other people saying you should invest in that, that's the best investments. What would you say to people when they're trying to decipher what would make a good investment versus a bad investment? Is there any kind of like guidelines or a framework to help people be informed to make those decisions?
Well, you can, when you're really rich, sometimes you get a hedge fund manager or a mutual fund manager who's like, give me all your millions and I'll put it in my hedge fund. And there are hedge fund managers whose daily job it is to pick stocks and shares and try and make your money grow. It's been proven that index funds, like we just spoke about, outperform them.
Wow.
So an index fund, you just put your money in.
Basically, just do that.
Just do that.
Yeah.
This is what 90% of investors do. They stick their money in index fund, like me, and then you check it every 6 months.
Done.
That's it. Yeah. If you want to, you can try and choose stocks and shares. You can read the Financial Times. You can read Warren Buffett's quarterly reports. But I would say you put 90% of your investment money in an index fund, and then you can play with another bit. If you really like Disney, if you really like Tesla, if you really like this new up and coming startup, put some money in it. But that is a risk. What
do you say in response to people that say you should diversify your portfolio? So people will talk about you can invest in property, you can invest in whiskey, gold, silver, but you're saying 90% just in the index fund.
Well, the index fund is already diversified because it's investing in 100 companies.
Yeah.
So actually, if one of them catastrophically failed, you've still got 99 companies that you've invested in. Yeah. That's why it's so good and so popular.
But would you say some of those other ideas like gold, silver, whiskey, art, do you think they're good investments? And who are they good for, if so?
I think invest in what you love.
Right.
So I do a bit of gold, a bit of index funds and a bit of property. And I've had my property business for 4 years now, so I know, my town and the places in demand and the rental yield and stuff like that. So I think if you're starting out, index funds is the easiest, laziest, safest, low risk way to go. So 90% of people should just do that. But if you do think, I actually want to look at whiskey, just go and do a bit of research. Buy a barrel of whiskey in Scotland and see how it does. Or I've got friends who collect artwork, and it's either because they love the artist or because they've researched all the stuff. So, you do have to take it really seriously because this is your money. It's a long-term investment, and investing does carry risks because stuff goes up and down. So you can choose stuff. But gold is doing really well at the moment. Gold's always been a good investment.
Yeah, that's kind of been a consistent one, isn't it, that people talk about. And then I heard, hasn't silver started doing really well this last year as well?
Yeah.
So obviously, I've seen you talk recently, and I'd love you just to share a little bit more about the main thing you help people with when it comes to investing now. Tell us what that is.
So I started in property about 4 years ago when I moved back to the UK. I only had about 5 grand worth of savings. So I couldn't really buy property. So I rent property and I manage property and I basically leverage other people's properties.
And what's that called when you do that?
It's called rent to rent.
Yeah.
So what I do is I rent a building off a landlord, generally a really rundown one that no one wants. And then I increase the value by doing it up. And then I use it to make money, basically. And you can do it in lots of different ways. You can do it holiday lets. You could do commercial property like this. I do house shares for professionals.
Okay.
And it's a great business model because you can get into it with hardly any cash and then you can really build it up quickly.
So break us that down then. What does that actually look like, that process?
So number one was market research with any business, right? You can't do it if you haven't got clients.
And how do you do that? Where do you go? What do you look at?
So my market research was, I'm in Southampton, that's where my business is. Are there professional tenants there? Is there anyone that's going to want my rooms? So I went on Spare Room. That's where everyone looks for rooms. I looked at the social demographics. So I know there's like 2 hospitals, 1 airport, 2 universities, the ports. Like there's loads of stuff going on in my town and lots of rental demand. So I knew the market research was good. Demand was high. Then I started looking for suitable properties. So that was literally like go on Rightmove, go on Zoopla. Are there any disgusting old student properties for rent? And at the moment, there's a lot of purpose-built student accommodation being built all around the country. So like big blocks, they've got like gyms, cinema rooms, all the things. So the students are all upgrading. They're all going to the nice apartments. And the ones in the not very nice house shares are upgrading to the nicer ones. Right. So we're left with all these sticky brown magnolia houses with like broken beds or whatever. So they're the ones I would target. So I go to the landlord and say, can I take this off you for 5 years? I'll guarantee the rent. I'll look after it. I'll do it up for you. I'll do the cleaning, the gardening, the maintenance. And they're like, yes, please. Because a lot of them have struggled for tenants and they just don't want another phone call about a door or, a leak or a toilet blockage. So you take
all that hassle off them.
Yeah. Yeah, and they love it. So, yeah, the first one I took on, I spent my 5 grand and I took everything out and put it in a skip, painted and decorated.
So you went all in then? The only 5 grand you had, you put it all in this one project?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I failure is not an option for me when I start a business. Yeah. And I knew the demand was there. So I was like, right, let's do it.
Like you say, you've done the market research and then you've got that mindset of we're in.
We're doing it. Yeah. The big mistake I made on that one was using the cheapest trades because I was like, I've only got 5 grand. I was getting these painters and decorators round. And this guy said, oh, yeah, I can do the job. I'll paint the whole house, the doors, and I'll box that in for you and I'll fix that for you. And I thought, he's very helpful. So I got him in and went to pop in on him one day. One of his guys was on the floor asleep next to a can of cider. And they'd taken all the fire doors off to paint them in the garden and they'd put them back on wrong. And this is like compliance, like they need to fit perfectly. So it was a bit of a screw up. And then we got new furniture in. We were like building flat pack furniture. And then I started doing viewings straight away. Like as soon as I could, I was marketing these rooms. And actually tenants love it because they're like, oh, it's a brand new house, brand new furniture. I can pick my room. So we filled it up and it got cash flowing. And then I went on to the next one.
And how does that work between both you and the landlord getting paid?
So I owe him rent every month. So I need to get tenants in as quickly as I can. Like if I hadn't done the market research and the house stood empty, I would be liable for rent. So there is a risk.
But is it like a split of the rent? You keep some of it. So how do you make your money?
So I say to the landlord, I'll give you 2 grand a month for 5 years. And they say, thank you very much. And then by adding value to the rooms, instead of charging like 400 quid a month to a student, I can rent it for $650 a month to the professional. But I've also got all the costs. I've got all the utilities, I've got cleaners, I've got gardeners, I've got maintenance. So I have a very good spreadsheet and I protect my profit at all costs. I just protect it.
So it is like it's not without its risk, and there's obviously a lot of work that goes into it, but obviously the real benefit is it's a really low barrier to entry. Like this is when people think of investing in property, on top of having their own property costs and so on, most people just think, I don't have the money to do that. But what you're saying, I mean, would you say this is, as long as they've got the attitude and they're happy to take on that responsibility, would you say this is literally available to anybody that can just start with, as you did, maybe 4 or 5 grand?
Yeah, just hustle into it. Like, it took me 500 letters to landlords. I called 50 agents. All of them said no, apart from one. And that got me my first 3 deals. So you have to be relentless and just keep going, play the no game, wait for the yes, build relationships, just keep going, because it is really hard. Like, I had a cash flow roller coaster that first year because we took on 9 properties in the first year.
Wow.
So I would take one on, spend money and have nothing in the bank. And then I'd need to pay my bills and my landlord. Then my tenants would start paying rent, so I'd have money again. Then I'd take on another property, invest in that. And I was just like, I'm terrible at business. This is terrifying. And I was in a business community at the time. And I remember opening up to someone saying, I feel like I'm failing at business. Like, this cash flow thing is awful. And they just went, that's normal, me too. And everyone I spoke to with a business went, that's normal. Like, the cash flow roller coaster, especially in the first 12, 18 months. Yeah. Don't know if you find this with you and your clients, but everyone went, yeah, I've experienced that.
When you're in that growth period, it takes investment, right? And so I guess hearing somebody say that then just makes you go,
yeah, okay.
I'm okay. Because we don't always have that, do we? When we start businesses, whatever kind of business it is, quite often you're a bit on your own. And like for me, starting my business 15 years ago, back then, I didn't really know of podcasts or mentors or courses or anything like that. It was just learning through doing. And when you're going through cash flow issues, just like you said, you go, oh, I must be bad at business. Maybe it's a me problem. And I think that brings the point there about how valuable having support and communities and other mentors and things like that can be, right?
100%, yeah. When I had those people around me, I felt validated. And one of them gave me a weekly cash flow spreadsheet. Nice. And I still use that now, like 4.5 years later.
Amazing.
Because you can forecast the next 12 months. So I've got my bank balance in there and I've got all my ins and all my outs. And then if I see a property and I go, that needs a 6 grand renovation next month, I'll plug in the numbers and it will go red or green. And it will be like, yes, you can, or no, you can't. Or
literally black or white.
Yeah, or you need to get a little loan or get some investment in. So having those numbers was really, really helpful.
This episode is sponsored by Laura Robson and Back Pocket Office. Now, let me tell you about this one. Laura is somebody you need in your life. I have got her in my life, and all I can say about her is I don't know how I'd live without her. And it's true. If you're anything like me, you will hate tech. You'll be great at launching and creating the marketing material and delivering on the actual product that you're selling. But when it comes to the back end, making sure it's all automated and it all works, I just can't be bothered. And if you're the same, Laura is the solution. Laura is a systems strategist and she's also a certified launch and funnel specialist. And if you are a service provider, if you're a coach, consultant, any kind of online business that provides some kind of online service, then Laura is there to help sort out all your funnels and systems for you. With over 14 years experience, she's somebody who's going to get you solutions quick. She's easy to speak to, very approachable, and just really friendly and nice, basically. So if you are ready to get your systems and your funnels all sorted for you and work with one of the best in the business, go check out backpocketoffice.co.uk and connect with Laura on socials. The links are literally right below this episode in the show notes. Go click it, and I mean this. Go and do it now. You will not regret it.
So you said 9 properties in that first 12 months. Tell us then, how did it snowball and where are you at today? What's that journey been like?
So we got 9 properties in the first year. And then people started to know me in where I live, basically, the agents, because I'd constantly call them and be like, still here? Hi, I can help you. And the landlords started getting to know me as well. And so about a year ago, we had 31 properties, which is decent. When we hit about 10 or 12, I started recruiting people. So I got a part-time lettings manager in.
Thank God.
He's now full-time. Then I took on another girl this year. And I've just got amazing systems. Like from day one, I was like, want this to be big. I'm not just going to start with a folder. I'm going to start with proper property management software, accounting software. Like, I'm starting really good from day one.
That's great. And I think that's quite rare. I think a lot of people are just figuring it up and adding on systems as they go. That was certainly me building my business. But I think having that real intentional, this is the vision, we're not playing small, but it's that thing of start with the end in mind. When you know it's going to operate at a bigger level, you start thinking, now, what is this business going to need?
Yes.
And it's that thing of, you can't teach it if you haven't got a system in place. Like, if it's just all reliant on you, you know, whereas actually it's duplicable, isn't it, if you've got a clear system. So I think for any business owner, it's certainly something I needed to hear much earlier on. Is get everything in order nice and early, right?
Definitely, yeah. So we were growing really well. And then one of my landlords, we've actually got the Renters Reform Act coming through at the moment, which changes a lot about tenancies and stuff. And he had 12 student houses. And I met him a few years ago because we had ones next door to each other. I was like, hi, I'm here. We can help you with your property. And he was like, oh, I've got an agent, but I'm really not happy with them. He had a full-time job and he was coming to take the bins out every week. The tenants had his phone number because the agent was so rubbish. So he was basically paying them but managing it. And I was like, well, we could help you. You know, we could do it better. We do a really good job. And eventually he went, all right, I'll give you one. I'll sign one and we'll see how you go. So he signed one for 5 years. We got the keys and it was the best service. Like, our landlords don't hear from us because we just do everything, get it done, pay them their rent, they're happy. And so I kept working on him for his other 11. I was like, you know, you can sign them to me anytime you want. And so last year he did. In November, we signed 11 contracts to get his student houses all on one day this year on the 1st of July. Wow. And this is also why market research is good, because I had to fill 45 rooms in a day. And I was like, yeah, I could do this. We could definitely do this. Wow. So we signed them in November. I took on an extra team member full-time in March, and we had agreed that we would have access to all these properties. So we then got in, contacted the tenants, said we need access for viewings. We started marketing the properties, doing the viewings, getting the tenants signed up, and we managed it somehow. Apart from one house that was so studenty and messy that people walked in and they were like, no chance. Even though my team were like, we're going to clean it. They won't be here anymore. You just can't, get past that. But yeah, that was a big risk, but big rewards. So we're now on about 40 properties, about 200 tenants.
And how are you finding it now, being a business of that size, with that responsibility, with the team? Because obviously starting out, you on your own with that 5K.
Yeah. I'm selling it.
It's very different. Yeah. So where are you at and what's the next steps then?
So we always said, my husband Simon and I, let's get to 30 properties. Like, that would be amazing. The cash flow will be good. That's a good size business. And then somehow, like, we haven't done any marketing for 2 years, but because people know us and because the other agents in our area, they're rubbish, they just keep giving us properties, which is great. And we've always worked flexibly on it, which is so important to me. I want to see my kids. But it's now so big that there is a constant stream of tenant demands, maintenance demands, and things like that. And I'm doing less of what I loved. Like, when I started it, I was project managing the refurbs. I was meeting I knew every tenant. I don't know any of them now. Yeah. And so I find myself more and more at the laptop doing deposit returns and paying the handyman, and I'm not doing what I love. So my husband said to me earlier the year, like, we could sell it now. We could sell it and we could do something else. So we found a buyer and we're going through that process, which is quite interesting, like figuring out how to value a business and who does what.
Challenges in itself, like new challenges again. I mean, I don't know how much you can say about the sort of range of that, but like, what are we talking? Like, what are you expecting it to be in range of when you sell that? Do you know?
About 500,000.
And that's been how many years?
4 years.
Wow.
So pretty good, isn't it?
It's really good. And it just goes to show people, I think, like, the key thing with this investment kind of type is that low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
It really is. As long as you've got, and look, this is the thing, people can think, oh, but you got so many rejections and you have to speak to so many people. Yeah, anything worth having is bloody hard work. So let's just put that as a given.
Yeah.
Whatever you are going to do, if you're going to start a business, be prepared the first 2 years, 18 months or so, to really work frigging hard. but you've not got a high investment and things like that other businesses might have. Low barrier to entry, especially when we're talking property.
Yeah.
And 4 years, you could be selling it for around £500,000 pounds, which is life changing.
Yeah.
And it's not decades, you know. And how many people retire on £500,000 after spending the whole life doing it, right?
Yeah.
In a job. Okay, I'd love to go to somewhere else now with this conversation because having had the pleasure to get to know you a little bit, we was on a business retreat over in Ibiza.
That was so fun.
Literally amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was just such a great group of people. Shout out to one of our sponsors of this show. Dr. Tania King-Mohammad is just one of the best human beings ever.
Yes, I love her.
She's all about teaching people with high ticket sales, isn't she? But she just does it in a way that because I know with sales, a lot of people find it a bit awkward or they struggle with sales. And then you say high ticket, people are like, oh my God, I can't charge. You know, that's a big thing for people. But I don't know, my experience on that retreat it was like a very energetic thing with the way that she teaches high ticket. It's a lot to do with like how you feel and think about money and stuff like that. And then we also just had a shit ton of fun as well.
We did. Yes, we did.
But what I got to know about you is you've lived a lot of lives.
I like a pivot.
Yeah, you do.
I do like a pivot.
Yeah, you do love a pivot. So I'd love to explore just some of those stories and the lessons learned. You know, if you just want to share, because you've travelled quite a lot, right? So I'd love to just hear a bit about the travelling. And importantly, like, what are the lessons you've learned? And to make it specific for this show, that, like, the lessons that being around maybe different cultures, different environments and so on has helped you now when it comes to business and how that's maybe strengthened how you do business today.
Yeah, I think a lot of my lessons from travelling and working abroad are like, you can do hard things. We can do hard things. Just do it. Just get the flight, have the adventure, go and do it. I think my travelling was inspired by my grandma.
Okay.
So she, like a long time ago, like 1920s or 30s, I guess, wanted to work for the UN. So she applied for a UN job. And because her name's Patricia, they thought she was a man. So she went to this place, met my grandfather, and he was like, what are you doing here? You're a woman. You can't do that. She was like, no, I will. And actually fell in love with him and ended up in the UN development program in Tunisia, in Cambodia, in Niger.
Wow.
And I grew up with these stories like, oh, this is normal. Just doing crazy things. She's amazing. Shout out to Pat. She's 93 now. And she actually...
And I bet she's still amazing, isn't she? Like...
Yes. She came to visit us in Indonesia when she was like 86.
Yeah.
Went snorkeling. Wow. Yeah, she's great.
Wow, that's incredible.
But yeah, when I was 18, I was like, I'm not really ready for uni. I want a gap year. So I went to this gap year organisation where you can go and teach English around the world. I was like, yeah, I'll do this teaching English course. Please send me somewhere completely different. So they said, okay, you're either going to go to West Africa or East Malaysia. I was like, great. They sent me to East Malaysia for 3 months. So off I fly to Borneo. Just such an adventure. Can you imagine when you're 18?
I actually can't. Because I was starting a business at 19 and it was just...
Okay, I'll take you on an adventure.
Take me on it.
I'll bring you.
Yeah.
We'll go and see Southeast Asia. It'd be great.
Wow.
But yeah, I was teaching English in this secondary school, which was amazing. And I did a bit of diving when I was there and just loved it. Loved the sharks, the turtles, met some instructors, stayed there for a year, became a diving instructor. And I was like, oh, this job I could do anywhere in the world. And there are, websites where you can find jobs for dive instructors. So then I started uni, where I decided to study anthropology, which is the study of other cultures, because I didn't really know what else to do. And I love finding out about other cultures. And I had 3 months off every summer. So one summer I ran a dive centre in Vietnam. Another summer I ran a dive shop in Thailand. Then I got a job in Fiji for 6 months on a really remote island on this like marine biology project. And then I came back. I did a master's in Southeast Asian economics, politics and anthropology. Because I was like, I've been there. And then I met my husband, Simon. And I was like, I've still got itchy feet. I don't want to live in London or anywhere. I want to be on the beach. But I thought, I need to do my own business. Because as an instructor, you can earn enough money for an apartment, a few beers, but you're not saving anything.
It'll just sort of like sustain that lifestyle.
Yeah, fun, but not long term. So I was like, should we just start a business? He was like, yeah. So we went on divecenterforsale.com and found this bit of land for sale in North Sulawesi in Indonesia. And speaking of market research and knowing demand, this is a place really famous with divers. Like, it's one of the most famous dive spots in the world, because you get like pygmy seahorses that are like that big, and then manta rays, the odd whale, spinner dolphins, just so much stuff.
Yeah.
The marine biodiversity is amazing. So I was like, yes, that place. So we were like, let's go and visit.
How old are you at this point?
26. Just got married.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 26. So we travelled a bit in Thailand. We got 2 dirt bikes and travelled around Cambodia for a month. Then we got to Indonesia and got to this bit of land, and it was owned by this awful Dutch dude who'd sort of tried to build a shack on it and it hadn't really worked. So we had to spend a bit of time with him, which is horrible. And we also spent time thinking, right, what language do we need? What visas do we need? How the hell do you start a business in Indonesia? How much is it going to be? So we did all this research, costed it up, and we were like, yeah, I think I can do this. We need about 60 grand. So we kind of raised this from family, friends, just people willing to take a punt on us.
And is Simon was he quite entrepreneurial? Was, this idea of starting a business with you going on this adventure?
Yeah.
Did that speak to his skill set?
He'd just done a mechanical engineering degree. So he can fix anything.
Okay, well, that's handy
Yes.
if you're going to have a resort.
So he was like building, fixing, maintenance operations. And I was like, I'll just try and sell this.
Wow.
I'll try and get guests in.
Wow.
So we bought the land and just started building, basically. So we made friends with the local people from the village because we needed their help. So they'd come and build every day with Simon. And every day he had the dictionary like, right, I need sand, I need bricks, I need wood. Like, he'd learn it word by word. I had to stay on the mainland, which was like hour by boat, 3 hours by car, to get on the Wi-Fi. So I stayed in the cheapest guest house, and I'd go to like a McDonald's or a coffee shop every day to build a website for a resort that didn't exist yet. And we started getting bookings. So we got there in October. We had to open in April. Like, the season starts in April. So I just started taking bookings. And I was like, my love, we need to finish in April because we've got our first guest coming. He was like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're on track. So we were just like building from the ground up in this country where, it's very corrupt. Like, my first bit of accounting said like, please bribe £10. Wow. We had to get all these permits. So luckily we had an Indonesian partner who was a lawyer who we met out there. Turned out to be an amazing guy. If he hadn't been, we would be totally screwed. So we were quite lucky with him. But he used to call us up being like, yeah, you need a water permit. I'm going to send the government over for that. So we'd have to get the boat over. They would all come for a nice day out. We'd make them lunch. They'd have gin and tonics, and then we'd get our permit. Or, you need a building permit. So they came over. They're like, how many cottages are you building? And we said 8 beach cottages. And he said, I'll put you down for 15.
Wow. I mean, just most people can't even begin to think where you'd start with that or why. Because it sounds like you've got so many hurdles and challenges and lessons that need to be learned just to even start. Where does that mentality come from in you? Why would you go and do something in a whole different country, not just to get a job and live a nice lifestyle, but actually build your own resort?
Because it's cool. It was like my dream.
It was your dream.
It was my dream. I loved diving. I know I'm a good diving instructor. Like, when I became an instructor, I was the only girl. And I even asked my friends, like, shall I do this? Do you think a girl could do this? It blows my mind. I had to ask that question. And they're like, yeah, of course you can. They were really supportive. And getting my first jobs, though, I was just surrounded by men who didn't think I could do it. And so from then, I was just like, yes, I can do it. And I found my superpower was working with women who were maybe nervous to put their wetsuit on or nervous taking their mask off underwater. And I would be the patient one who would take more time with them. So I was like, I'm a great diving instructor. I need my own business. And it was just like it was literally like building a dream.
Do you think there's something in being in your 20s where there's an element of naive ambition, delusion, and you just go with that young energy?
Yeah, I thought, if we fail, I'll move back home with my parents and get a job.
And
What is
that's
the
fine.
worst
Yeah.
that can happen here?
Yeah. There's always a backup.
Yeah. And it was like, there's so many stories. We ended up with 11 Indonesian staff who ended up like our family. Because when we had our kids out there, like in Indonesia, your kids are everyone's kids. So they just got adopted. So they're like our second family. But we started an NGO so that we could like teach English and help the local kids come into hospitality and stuff. We had a Chinese mining company who just came one day and started wrecking the island and bribing the local people. And we were like, no, this is bad. And there were like 3 other tiny resorts on the island. And we all teamed up and like funded a lawyer and we defeated them. It could have completely screwed the whole island. Yeah, it was mad. We had like tsunami warnings. We had a wildfire.
Oh, I want to talk about the wildfire.
Yeah.
Because that sounds pretty horrendous.
That was the worst day of my life, honestly. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it was October 2015 because my son was born in May, so he was like a few months old. So I was just, looking after the baby at that point, not doing a lot of diving.
And how long had the resort been established at that point?
2.5 years.
Okay, and at that point it was going well.
Yeah, really good, building the business. And in Indonesia, you have a dry season and a wet season. And so we had the dry season like over the summer, and then September, October, the rains are supposed to come, but they didn't come. So it was really dry, and like the whole island went from lush green rainforest to like brown kindling, basically. And we heard about wildfires on the mainland. Like the army had to come in and put them out. There were some small fires on the north of the island, but we were on the south, so we thought we were okay. And then one day, the dive boat went out to one of the furthest dive sites with like Simon, all our staff, all our guests, leaving me, my cook, her teenage daughter, and our compressor technician, just hanging out, just there.
And a newborn baby.
And my baby, my sort of 4 or 5 month old baby. And the compressor guy came to me and they called us like boss or miss. He's like, boss, the fire's really close by. I was like, okay, show me. And we were on like a beach with a big hill behind it and we had cottages there. And the wildfire was just like a line of fire up the hill. And it was only small. It was only like 1 inch high, but it was just crackling towards us. And it was like 200 meters long, this line of fire. God. And I was like, oh my God. And I just stood there looking at it like, what do I do? Because I think like in business, we're constantly problem solving, aren't we? Like something happens and you're like, right, here are all the different things we could do. What should we try? And I was like blank. Nothing. I don't have anything for this. Wow. I've never been in this situation. And I could feel this like panic coming into my stomach and like, this is going to burn down my resort because it's all made of wood. Like, this is our life done. We're done. Gone. And everyone's gone. It's just me. And then the cook's teenage daughter comes running up and she starts hitting it with like a palm leaf and it's kind of working. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll do this. And I thought, no, we need more people. So then I messaged everyone I knew on the island, like the other resorts, the community, the parents of the kids we'd taught hospitality to, people in the church that we'd bought something for, like the people we bought food from, the captain of the boat, like everyone I've ever met in the village. And within 20 minutes, we had like 30 people like running, coming on their boats with pumps and buckets. And I was just like, oh, this is the power of community. Because we'd tried to do as much as we could, obviously getting into this remote island community. And so they came and helped us. And then we managed to get it out.
You managed to stop the fire?
Yes, yeah. But that night I was so scared. I kept sending Simon out because it was so hot. Coconuts were exploding.
Oh my God.
It was insane. I was like, can you just go out and look for ashes? Because you could see embers in the dark. It was really scary.
This episode is sponsored by Dr. Tania King-Mohammad. She is the high ticket woman, the #1 best-selling author of the high ticket method, and one of the most sought after high ticket experts in the game. Basically, if you are an entrepreneur who is serious about scaling their business, you need to grab a copy of her book right now. Literally, I have read it and it is a game changer. It will blow your flipping mind. Tania is the mentor that the entrepreneurs call once they are finished playing small and are ready to start charging their worth. Working with Tania is all about creating consistent high-ticket sales and doing it in a way where you can create a freedom-level income without the constant hustle and grind like a lot of the other mentors bang on about. If you're listening to this show, you already know you're somebody that's meant for more and is willing to go and work for it. So basically, you need to get into Tania's world. Go and grab a copy of her book right now on Amazon and make sure you give her a cheeky little follow on Instagram. She is at Freedom with Tania and she's consistently giving strategies, tips and advice over there for free so you can start charging your worth and actually starting to believe in it.
One of the things I really get from you, and like from the surface, you just seem really lovely, bubbly, a nice person, hardworking. But underneath, there's a real resilience there.
Yeah.
The things that you've been through, you know, and taking that first $5,000 and, you know, being like, we're going to make this work. Where does that come from? And how can people build resilience? Because I believe it's one of the most important things that we have, not just in business, but in life, that we are strong because life is tough.
Yeah.
And when you've got things like a wildfire, you need to tap into
Yes.
that ability to be strong in those moments.
Well, I think that helped me build resilience because
Well,
now
you had no choice.
anything that comes, you know, if a tenant starts, it's very very occasionally, but I might get a tenant who calls me to complain about something or, you know, anything. And I'm like, my whole life nearly burnt down. I think this is okay.
Yeah.
And I think it really is doing hard things. Like we can sit in our house, in our town and do our job and stay comfortable and never do those hard things because it is hard and it takes you out of your comfort zone and you don't know what it's going to be like. But I think the more you do it, the more you're attracted to it. So after I had my first trip to Malaysia where I didn't know the language, like didn't know what to do in a shop, didn't know what to read, like once I managed that, I was like, right, where's the next one? Because I know I did that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, just do the hard thing because you can do it and you'll become an even stronger person.
What about when it comes to sales and marketing? Because building your own resort and then actually making a success of that. And then now with your property investing and obviously you coach people and you have clients with that. What's some of the main tips from all your experiences from the different types of businesses when it comes down to the fundamentals of good marketing, you know, getting people in, getting people want to buy? What's some advice you can give us?
That's a good question. I haven't really done much sales and marketing training. I've always just put myself out there and said what I want to say and put out there what I like. You know, with the diving, it's really easy to sell because you can put a beautiful seahorse or a dugong or whatever and be like, look how cool this is.
But I get two things straight away. One is you did your market research.
Yeah.
You actually made sure that what you're going to be selling, there's demand in this area. And I think that's a really key thing that a lot of business owners skip. They just go, oh, well, because I think it's a good idea, we'll just try it.
Yeah.
But actually you did do the market research. Coupled with, which is your point here, it's something you actually have a passion and a desire for.
Yeah.
So I think that's when I reflect a lot of what I teach is helping people with like personal branding and showing up online and things like that. And when I reflect on some of the main things that I help people with, it's like it's that cliche thing that people will buy into your energy and your certainty about the thing.
Yes.
And people can spot if that's, I think, like authentic, genuine passion for the thing. Or if it's just you need money and so you're just selling something. Yeah. And what I get from you is like everything you've done, there's been that real, I'm excited to make this work. And I want people on board and I want you to be excited about it, right?
Yeah, I do enthusiasm. But I think I've learned a lot about personal brand because when we set up the dive centre, it was called Nomad Divers. And I was like, okay, we need a website and we need a Facebook page and stuff like that. But people aren't really drawn to the business logo, really. They're drawn to you. And then when I came back, like we did... we came back and my husband wanted to do air traffic control because that was his dream. Okay. So there was a little air traffic control bit there. Then I did a marketing job. Then I get into property. And I was like, oh, I've gone from diving to property. What are people going to think about that? Like it's a big pivot. But it's about your messaging, isn't it? Like... people know me for the diving adventure and the wildfire and stuff like that, but they come to me for property coaching. And there's loads of property coaches out there. Like, there's probably lots of business coaches out there, but people come to us because they see something resonates. So I work with like loads of mums who are working so hard and feeling undervalued and underpaid, and they want to work with around their kids, because that's what I've done. Or like adventurous people who want to come to my, like, I do like a networking on the beach event every year. People come to that. So now I don't mind as much just putting a post out like, here's me diving in Egypt, and I'm a property coach.
Yeah.
Because it's the whole thing, isn't it? That I think
and you can
like.
do both, and you've proved you can do both.
Yes.
But yeah, it is. It's those core values. It's that sharing your actual journey, your experience, sharing the process. People then buy into you.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to personal branding, it is that we don't just want to see the polished highlights. We want to see a real person living their life. Because especially when we're looking for a mentor or a coach or something like that, it's not just can they get me a result, it's how do they get it?
Yeah.
It's the journey of achieving it. Because, for example, I had an old mentor a few years back where the journey to making money was about no days off. It was get up every day at 5 a.m. It was, be relentless. It was all these things. And I learned a lot from that period. But ultimately, as I reflected on it, I was like, I don't want to make money this way.
Yeah.
And that lifestyle isn't the lifestyle I want. And I think so when people see you as somebody, yes, that's hardworking and resilient, but you've been able to build something now where you are more hands-off. You're not having to do everything yourself. You've built a team and you've done it in a way that's fun and adventure. And you've got all these incredible stories of how you've built businesses. People are going to buy into that and they're going to relate to that. Sophie, this has been so inspiring. Like,
Thank
just chatting to
you.
you, and so valuable as well. Just hearing those insights, in particular around investing, and also what I really hope, because a lot of my audience is female, that in particular more women can start to go, like we're talking about there, they can see a piece of them in you, and they can be like, well, actually, investing is for women.
Yes.
It is possible.
Do it.
And it doesn't have to be this scary thing. Like you said, you can just start with an app. We can start with £1 and then we can build from there.
100%, yes.
So what we're going to do now, just before we finish, is we're going to go through some of the questions that I ask all my guests.
Okay.
So the first one is, what is some of the best advice you've received in life and why?
Oh, life advice. What instantly came to me was something my dad tells me. He used to tell me, mainly as a teenager, if you can't be good, be careful. And if you can't be careful, don't get caught.
There you go.
It's good advice. And he always used to say, whatever you do, because I was a bit of a naughty teenager and young person, turn up for work the next day. Like, turn up professional, get it done.
Yeah.
I don't care if you've got a hangover. I don't care how you're feeling.
Still show
Bring
up.
your best self to work.
Nice.
And I think that's good advice.
Okay, flip side, some of the worst advice that might have been well-meaning, but actually you learned through your experiences it's terrible advice.
Well, I think it might be a bit of the hustle culture.
Right.
I think when anyone starts a business, they're looking for advice and inspiration. And there's so much of that online. It's like you need to get up at 5, then you need to work out, then you need to work all the time. And that is how you'll be successful. And actually, if you say that you don't do that, is that okay? Like, no, I don't work all the time every day. Yes, I have a massage every 3 weeks because I like it. Yeah, I like a spa day. I like dropping my kids off and then walking on the beach. So let's do that.
Where do you stand on the, because we spoke there about like the early days of getting into property, you're going to work really hard. Because I think it's a message that is really important we get right, because I think people will read what they want to read in stuff and it's not always right. And it's my belief that in those early stages of any business, there probably will be an element of sacrifice and maybe obsession and things like that to really get something off the ground.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Because I agree it shouldn't be like that all the time, but I do think there's very few success stories that didn't have a season, perhaps.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think I was going to say about seasons as well, or times. If you're going to build a business, it's going to be really, really hard. And I really believe in putting in that work to then pay off.
Yeah.
I think if you work your ass off for a year or two, you will massively see results. And if you work it for even more, 5 years, you know, yes, there are definitely times to put that work in, but you can't sustain it because you'll burn out. I definitely burnt out 2 or 3 times in that first year.
And I think also it's important to say, work really hard on the right stuff. And so that requires good mentorship and things like that, because you can work really hard on the wrong stuff and never make the money and never scale in a way that buys you back your time long term as well, right? Okay, so this next question is around, I think quite often when we listen to guests on a podcast, we position them as the expert, we see them as being on a pedestal. I think it's really important to also show the vulnerability and the truth that we're all just human, we've all got our flaws, and we've all got ongoing challenges forever. So if you're happy to share, the question is, what is one challenge that you're going through right now, and how are you overcoming it or going to overcome it?
Well, it's taken us a year to sell this business.
That's challenging.
That is a challenge. That is a challenge. And even navigating selling the business, you know, we sold a business before in Indonesia. Selling a business in the UK is different. There are like over 10 ways to value a business. And at the end of the day, it's how much you're willing to sell it for and how much the buyer is willing to pay for it.
Right.
And then you can structure it in different ways. And then you can negotiate all these things. And then you've got solicitors involved. And so in the last year, I know I've been selling the property business. I've been increasing my property coaching and mentoring. And I'm looking at buying another business, and I'm doing some consultancy for other people. So I've basically said I want to replace my income from this business.
Right.
So when it's done, we can use that money to invest. We're not just going to spend it.
Nice.
So actually, I've been doing like double the workload for nearly a year now, because I've been like, well, we might sell it next month. I need to be prepared.
Yeah.
So I've been very, very busy this year, which has been exhausting. But, you know, we're now reaching that stage where we're weeks away from the sale. So that's been quite challenging.
If you're happy to share, what, just bringing it back full circle, I guess, what's your plan in terms of how you're going to invest the money when you get it?
Good question. Well, I'm thinking of buying a dive business.
Oh, okay.
Yep. There's a dive business for sale currently, and we're talking to those people. So that would be amazing. If that happens, I'm coming back on the podcast to talk about it.
We could talk about that. So that will be invested in a new business, basically. Is
new
an
business.
Investment
So that would be hustle next year to develop
back
that.
into that phase.
Property, we're going to buy property, and then trading as well. So a bit more of an advanced investing strategy, trading financial markets.
Amazing.
That's another podcast.
So there's no slowing down anytime soon.
No.
But you love it, right?
I love it, yeah.
Sophie, this has been brilliant. If people are hearing about you for the first time and they want to maybe know more about the property coaching and how they can work with you and maybe get your content and things like that, where are the places we can find you?
I'm on Instagram, Sophie Coach by the Beach, and my business is called The Happy Investor, or you can just find me, just Google me, find me on LinkedIn, Sophie Foote.
And do go check that out as well. And I can vouch that Sophie is an incredible person, and definitely go and whether it's Google The Happy Investor or whatever, go check that out. Drop you a message, right, and get in touch.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Final question before we finish that I ask all guests is, what is your personal definition of success?
Oh, that's a good question. For me, it's freedom of choice. Like just choosing how I want to spend my time, where I want to do it, who I want to do it with, and financial peace and stability.
Beautiful.
Has anyone asked you that?
My definition?
Yeah.
Well, we did actually do our 250th episode where Helen, who works with me, turned the tables and interviewed me.
Amazing.
So my definition is around fulfillment, is one of the words, and peace. So for me, fulfillment is about not every day is going to be easy. Some things will be tough. But as long as I can feel the work that I'm doing is meaningful and there's like a purpose to it, then I can feel fulfilled, then I'm successful. And the peace thing was because I spent a lot of time growing up beating myself up that I wasn't better at this or I wasn't better looking or whatever. So it's about internally, genuinely being okay with being me kind of thing. And I think a lot of us have busy heads and stuff like that. And I think just actually going, do you know what, we're good, and I'm grateful to be me, and I like being me, is success. So it's really cliche, but it really is on a deep level about success not being a tangible outcome or a destination. It's about, how do I feel within a day? And if I'm feeling fulfilled and I'm enjoying being me, I'm a success.
That's amazing. Life's too short not to.
Right. And I think you embody everything we've talked about in this. Is you embody that. It's really about not being frightened to go for those wild dreams and those wacky ideas.
Yeah. Do what makes you happy.
It'll be tough and it'll be hard, but you'll learn so much. And at the heart of it, what I hear is you are so fulfilled in doing that stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sophie, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you.